everyone. This is Skip Farr from Hard Dollar Corporation. This session is geared to just the quote register itself. In other words, taking quotes, recording quotes from subcontractors and their vendors. I'm going to use my little training job. I already have it open, so when I click on the tab, what you're looking at is our quote register. You notice we've got some quotes in here already. These came from the RFQ. In other words, if you had created an RFQ from within that register, you can say create the quote. So that's what's happened here. In other words, we got the quote setting, we got the items and the sellers. All we need to do now is enter in their rates. You also may notice that we have a couple of unique symbols here. There's nothing in the system that precludes you from making changes to items that you've taken quotes upon. You can change quantities, you can change taxes, there's all kinds of changes. So if you had taken some quotes, then after the fact made some change, this little unique symbol alerts you to that fact. Now, even though you may make changes, when you go to the compare and award form, all those changes are updated automatically there. All we're doing here is alerting you to the fact that some change had in fact been made. So when you go up here to the edit command, you can see an option that says refresh or refresh all. I'm going to choose refresh because these are things that could have changed in the system, like quantities, tax rates, the seller's bond information, license information. You may have changed the currency. Did you add a new item after the fact with a quote group tag that you want to add to the existing items that quote records that you've already entered? Default quote information. This is information on the address book where you can set up default quote data. Maybe you made a change to that. You want to update the quote register with it. So all kinds of ways that will alert you, and you may want to update the quote register with that information. So I'm going to click OK. Now nothing happened because I just was highlighting here. So now if I went back up to edit and I said refresh all, I'll click OK. My unique icons go away and my quote register is now updated correctly. You may have taken a quote from somebody and the boss says, I'm not going to use him, but you may not want to delete him. I'm going to right click and you see a thing here that says ignore. You can do that. It's like a suspend. In other words, it ignored it from comparison. You won't see it when you go to decide who's the best and low quote, but you didn't delete it. So the status says ignored. You can always accept it and bring it back. Now these two items here came from the RFQ record. All we need to do is enter in some price, which we're going to do here just shortly. But before I do, we have another feature that might have some value. Under Tools, we got this thing that says Copy Quotes. Well, what in the world is all that about? Well, very often the quotes that you get are similar from job to job. There's similar companies, similar items, and so forth. So what you have here is on this side is the current jobs, the target jobs, quote group tags that have been used. You can select a source job that you've already taken quotes on. So I'm going to choose I got a copy of my sample job here. And there they are. In other words, since these are highlighted, I've already taken quotes on those quote group tags on this job, which includes the who and the what. So I could add those automatically to my current job if I wanted to. So for instance, maybe I'm interested in the guardrail that I did. That's the materials. I don't need that. How about the guardrail work? Oh, well, I always take the quotes from these guys on my guardrail. So instead of having to do them from manually or from scratch, I can choose that, click OK, and we will add those quote information. Then all you'll have to do is enter in the prices for them. So that's what this option is all about, copying quotes from other jobs. I'm going to cancel this. I'm not going to do that, but you could have. Again, I'm going to go back to our pipe materials that we utilize on the RFQ. I'm going to open up this record. And of course, here are the resources. They're not cost items, they're resources. And of course, I'm entering in some kind of a price here for this. So I can enter in their prices. I'll click next to the other one, and I'm just going to put something in here just to have some dollars. There are a lot of different options here about quotes. The thing about quotes, you can make changes. So I'm going to quickly go through some of these changes. We have over here the ability to add an adjustment, either by percent or an amount, to a specific cost item. So if there was a change from the owner that says, hey, take 5% off that item, you can. So you can make adjustments to specific items. You can make adjustments to the whole quote. That's what this package tax is all about. If the guy called up and said, hey, take 3% off the whole quote, minus 3, you just did. So up here, you'll see the results. If this were a subcontractor, you might want to include the cost of his bond for you. You can set up the bond amount in the library, in the address book, but if not, you can put whatever the cost of his bond would be. That's what this is all about. Maybe you deal in minority subcontractors and vendors. You can decide if they're minority or not. You can pick and choose. Maybe the guy calls back and says, hey, I give you a price for $250,000. And you say, well, what item did you change? He says, I didn't. I just got a brand new total. So if you do that, you may. But when you come back here, you're going to see the letters PP here, meaning package price. We technically don't know now what the items' individual unit prices are. But if you do award this subcontract, or this items to this vendor or subcontractor, what we'll do, depending on what you had already preset. So if you already had any charge rate numbers for these as plug numbers, and you set up your resources in this case, we know what the ratio would be for the total. So we will award this grand total based on that ratio. If you don't have any information to provide for us, then we'll just split it into, in this case, 3 different parts. The thing about quotes, again, you have all different ways to make adjustments. So that's what we're trying to do with the quote system here. One last thing, terms and conditions. You can type in notes again, all kinds of notes. This section here has a field down here for a value. This is very specific and a unique situation. If there's a cost that you want to add to the seller after you make the awards, that's what this would be. Okay, it's very specific and unique. This would not be part of the comparable total. When we compare them, it would be added after the awarded total. So be aware of what a value would be if you were to enter it there. Okay. So it's a quick view at the quotes. All this accepted means that you took the quote and you're going to use it. Don't forget the tools copy or the refresh to make sure that everything is current. Thank you again for your time, and we'll talk to you next time.